Question from Yari here. Back onto the things romantic, being it Valentine's Day today. Is there such thing as the one? And a follow-up question, when looking for the right one, how do I become the right person or the right one? Which is a good question to ask too. So is there such thing as the one, finding the one? I know I grew up with that ingrained in my head. You got to find the one. There's the one.
Soak it up in a hot tub with your soulmate.
Yes.
Not the forbidden hot tub.
Yes, the forbidden hot tub.
Yeah, biblically, no. So yeah. When you go through the Bible, first of all, you got to remember that in the biblical days, it was betrothal. It wasn't dating as we know it today. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not how some people in modern days portray it. That there was no amount of getting to know the person or your family's united. There was that, but for the most part, it was betrothal. It was just arranged marriages that happened within particular communities, and that's never denigrated within the Bible. So the Bible never promotes that as being the ideal system, but it also doesn't say that it's a bad system. Now, from the perspective of the one, that would be a very bad system because that means that parents are taking steps to basically thwart fate. But what we believe as Christians is that there is a such thing as love, there is a such thing as romance and desire, but these things have to be cultivated between two consenting partners, right? So I have to make decisions to be with somebody, and I have to make decisions to make that relationship work. And over time, that relationship might fail. And sometimes that's going to be my fault. Sometimes it's going to be my partner's fault. And sometimes it's going to be a combination thereof. But if I enter into any type of romantic relationship with someone, I should be doing everything in my power to, without sinning, without falling short, without compromising my values, to make that relationship work and to make that relationship glorify and honor God and his love for his people. That's the concept that we have in the Bible. The idea of the one is the idea that there is a perfect one out there for you, that if you find them, your relationship will just kind of work out. And you know that you've found the one when you really just connect with them. This is such a pervasive ideology that's completely unbiblical, but it's appealing because what it essentially says to you is that there is someone who will just fit directly into your life, as opposed to the way I portrayed it, which is no one's just going to fit directly into your life. You have to shape yourself to be a part of someone else's life, right? You have to actually alter your behavior, your character. You have to work on yourself, and you have to cultivate a relationship together with someone in order to make a relationship work. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
As opposed to the hook in this concept, the soulmate is if it doesn't fit,
right?
If they aren't perfect and there is no conflict, or there rather is, that means they weren't the one.
And I could ditch them. Yeah.
I got to find the right
even
one.
If I'm married, if I find someone I connect with better than I connected with my spouse.
I married the wrong person.
That's right. That's what we want to avoid in this mindset.
And that is absolutely untrue. Now, if what you're saying by the one is, no one ever means it this way, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you are on your Bible and good in theology. If what you mean by the one is God is sovereign over every decision in my life, and he has a plan and a purpose for me in every facet of my being, including who I marry. And that means that God already knows the person that I'm going to end up with, right? If that's what you mean by the one, that's good theology. But that's not what people tend to mean. They mean that God has prepared someone specifically for you. That's just not true. That's not accurate. There are going to be temperaments that you get along with better. There are going to be people that you're going to develop relationships with easier. Obviously, you might, if you date, if you go out with various types of people, you'll realize that you're going to click with certain personalities better than others. But sometimes if we're shallow, what that means is that we're taking qualities that aren't necessarily deal breakers, things that we just don't prefer, and we're putting that as a reason not to work on the relationship and to break up. That's shallow. What we should instead be doing is saying, okay, I obviously want to be with someone that I connect with and that I'm able to cultivate that relationship, but I'm going to have these standards of behavior that actually matter, right? That actually matter. Not, well, they didn't laugh at all my jokes, or, well, they smell a little funky, or, well, their ambitions are a little bit different than mine, right? Those are shallow reasons to break up with someone, right? You want to have good standards that are real. What are their values? What are their aspirations? Do they align with mine, right? If their aspirations are to move to Florida and I want to stay in Tucson, that might not work, right? So you need to have real things that couldn't coalesce with one another in order to justify breaking up. I don't think that breaking up should be casual. I don't like the idea of casual dating because it does set up a mentality of I'm just going to select individuals that better fit my needs. And if I don't like you, then I can kick you to the curb. And I especially dislike dating apps because dating apps enable you to, in the most shallow terms possible, pick out prospective partners and to date multiple people, quote unquote, date multiple people at the same time, where you're communicating with multiple different partners at the same time and selecting the ones that best fit what you want, right? That's a key to becoming increasingly selfish in your selection, as well as narcissistic. Now, when you said at the end of the question, I believe it wasn't about the one. It was how do I become the one? Mm-hmm. That's a much. I think the question as a whole is very good, but I think that second or latter part of the question is more on the right track of what we should be thinking. Right? The idea of how do I become compatible? How do I become the kind of person that could make a relationship work? Well, there are certain virtues that allow for people to make a relationship work. The first one is integrity. Integrity means that you are a whole person. We get the word integer from mathematics. Integer is a whole number as opposed to a fraction or decimal. Integrity means I'm becoming a whole person. I am the same way with you as I am with other people. People who are two-faced tend not to be able to make long-term relationships work, even if they're two-faced in a genial sense, meaning that I'm with this group of friends and I have this type of personality that comes out, and I'm with this group of friends and I have this type of personality that comes out. Even that precludes you from having long-term relationships with another person, lasting ones. The reason why is because when you integrate yourself with a singular person, they become a part of your life. And if your personality shifts depending on the people you're around, that's very difficult for them to keep up with. And it might end up destroying the relationship. So work on your integrity. Am I the same person in church as well as out of church? Am I the same person at college as I am at work? Am I the same person with my family as I am with my friends? Right? Am I working on being a person of integrity? This also has to do with honesty, right? The idea of saying what is true and meaning what you say, that's very important. Work on becoming a clear communicator with the people that you're around, right? When in my relationships, do people understand what I'm saying? Or do I consistently miscommunicate or misunderstand other people in a way that causes friction and tension within my relationships? That's something that you need to work on. Another thing is flexibility. Are you an overly rigid person that can't compromise on things and can't see other people's perspectives? Or are you someone that is flexible, right? You could actually listen to where other people are coming from and maybe move a little bit to accommodate someone else's wants or desires. Or are you overly flexible to the point where you're such a people pleaser that you'll do whatever anyone else says just to gain their approval, even compromise your values? That's something you need to work on, which means that you would need to work on your assertiveness, being able to be direct with people as opposed to hinting at it and being passive when you don't get what you want, right? So that's another quality you need to develop: assertiveness, direct communication, that kind of thing. Another thing that I would encourage people to work on is their goals, right? So once again, your partner is an important part of your life, but they're a partner with you. They're a helpmate, as the Bible puts it. That means you got to be moving in a direction. You should be having goals within your life. If you're someone who's just sitting around waiting for a partner to come into your life, and you're living at your parents' house, you have a part-time job somewhere, and you have no ambition whatsoever, a partner's not really going to fit into that very well. You have to be moving in a direction. So be thinking about what you want to do career-wise, work towards it, be diligent, be hardworking, right? These are attractive qualities to prospective partners, and someone can actually fit into it. But most importantly, have spiritual goals, right? How are you doing in your relationship with God? Is that important to you? To develop your relationship with God, to develop your dependency upon God and the way that you see God and the way that you behave in a godly manner, right? That should be an important part of your goal system. And the final thing that I say is try to find someone who is in a community that is near or approximate to yours, right? If you find someone totally outside of your community, it's very difficult, right? The less commonality you have in your community life, the more difficult it is to integrate those communities. So just one simple example, if you go to two completely different churches, not two different churches as in different parts of town, but two different churches is in completely different communities, right? Pentecostal, and you go to a Baptist church. That's going to take a lot of compromise. It's very difficult to then bring in a completely different community and cultivate one together. You'll almost likely have to both leave your prospective churches and find one that's more neutral, right? Which would be Calvary. No, that's right between Pentecostal and Baptist. But
that's why we're here.
That's why we're here
For
to
these
bring
dumb people that
together.
marry someone from other countries or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
But yeah, try to find someone in your approximate vicinity.
That's good.
Because that helps you integrate easier into each other's lives. And beyond that, make sure that as you're growing in your relationships, work on your friendships and your family relationships, because someone who doesn't have those and is just so desperate for romance and that's all they're thinking about, they need to come into something. And if you don't have community support or a community that cares about you, you're not going to have someone that's going to actually support your relationship. So you're going to want to work on your relationships that you have right now. Be diligent in those relationships. Make them as functional as possible. And then when someone romantic comes into your life, you will have a support system to encourage and cultivate that relationship in a way that's beneficial to you and them. So those are just some basic things. There are more that I could say, but we're out of time.
Yeah. That was amazing. We should make that the question of the week. That was seriously so good. Such good things to be focusing on. Yari, I hope that helped you out. If it didn't help you out, I don't know what's wrong with you, because it helped me out. It was amazing. It was amazing.